Welcome to KOIN Conversations. I am Brenna Green. I'm joined by our sports reporter at our Nexstar affiliate in Roanoke, Miriam Chamberlain. We are talking all things Oregon and JMU football as they face off this week in the college football playoff. Miriam, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for joining me and making this work. I so appreciate it.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
Miriam, for Oregon fans, what do they need to know about JMU? Give me the lowdown.
I mean, for a starter, JMU has had a phenomenal season. I mean, if you just take the time to look at the stats or just to get to know the team itself, 12-1, and that one loss, I'm pretty sure a lot of other teams, fell to that certain team. But JMU, they definitely have a very specific type of play style. They use the line and they want their opponent to know that they can do everything, whether it's run the ball, throw the ball, or even special teams. They definitely have an elite set of skills where they all kind of mesh together. And it's one team that's it's that true underdog feeling right now when they're going to go play Oregon. So it should be interesting. And they've been preparing all week and they are ready to go.
Yeah, what is it like around there since they are like so much the underdog in this game? There's nobody that's betting on JMU right now. So what has that been like around the program this week?
Honestly, it's been all, noise cancellation. They have not even paid attention to what's been happening on the outside world. They want to make sure that, one, they're staying focused. And to do that, they need to practice. They need to, be able to play their style of football and not even, I would say, Coach Chesney definitely mentioned that when having that time difference, the 3 hours from where we are to where you guys are, it helps because then they got what they needed done and they don't need to worry about what's happening 3 hours behind them. So I think for them personally, they've just been taking it all in. It's more likely a huge accomplishment already just to be where they are. First time ever. I know Oregon has the same ordeal, but for them just to kind of be a part of this in their second season as, FBS, they're just living it up at this point. So whatever happens come Saturday, I think they're just going to be happy to be a part of something this huge for not just the program itself, but for the community too.
Have they mentioned anything in terms of their strategy for travel since obviously this is the farthest that they have traveled this season?
I'm not quite sure just yet, but this will be the furthest, like you said. You know how typical teams, they go and if the game's on Saturday, they'll probably travel like the Friday, like the day before. But for them, I feel like they might just have to go down a little bit earlier just to kind of get familiar and practice. I know they were practicing on Monday, Tuesday. So if anything, I believe they will have to travel at least later this later Wednesday evening, or going to Thursday, just so they do have enough time to prepare, get familiar with the time change, and also be ready to come out and fully play come Saturday. So they haven't mentioned just quite. I was on the call earlier. They had Wednesday morning, but besides that, it was more of like the questions being asked were like, how is it being a part of a team that, people probably would have looked down upon or count you guys out. And Coach Chesney was just very well open. As you guys already know, he will be leaving to go be the head coach for UCLA, but he's one of those coaches that when he comes in, he turns the program around, and whenever he does leave, he leaves the program and well shaped for the next person to come in. And I mean, looking at JMU, you can tell he's done exactly what he was hired to do. Hopefully, I wish he was staying longer, but I know UCLA is going to have a good head coach at the helm, and they can start their program fresh.
You talked a little bit about the transition from FCS to FBS for this school? I mean, it's been truly remarkable what they've been able to do. What do you think has been the key to them being able to engineer this quick of a rise in college
Right.
football?
I believe for them, it's just been about commitment, not just from the program leaders or the coaches and who they bring in. It's also for the kids coming into a program that's entered their second year as FBS, eligibility and everything. It's hard, especially being those student athletes. The portal is crazy now. There's so many rule changes and there's so many questions that are like kind of left on edge, especially as those athletes want to figure out what they want to do when it comes to playing college football. But for them as a program and being able to kind of exceed the expectations within such a short term, it definitely puts them on the map. And I think that's only going to help them more to bring in not only just the recruits, but also the funds. JMU is a highly encouraged school for a lot of people, but not a lot of people know about them. So it's definitely going to help those alumni feel special when they can tell somebody, oh, yeah, I went to JMU, I graduated from here, I graduated from there, and I got my degree then. So for those athletes, I think they are committed. And this season, you can definitely see those players came out and wanted to leave a mark, and they are doing that, especially in this 2025 season. So it's a lot to take in when you get into like the logistics and the numbers and the transfers with the FBS and leaving. But I think they've done something special, and they have the the proof to show for it.
I know that Kurt Signetti was there before. Do people there still take a lot of pride in him? Or is that kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, he's gone, like next, whatever?
It's how they always say next man up mentality. So like it's the same thing if you think about other universities that have names that come with it. I think it is his name is still out there, obviously, and they look back on that. But for the players, I feel like they want to kind of exceed that, and like I want the next generation to say my name versus saying his name. So it's more of like he hasn't been forgotten for sure, but yeah, they definitely take pride and they definitely try to look at the acclimates to where it's not just on one person, but it's on those that's coming up, and they want to be able to kind of prove to themselves and to prove to the program that they're a part of that, you know, I can be just as big.
You mentioned also Coach Chesney moving on. Oregon fans are going to become more familiar with him since he
Yes.
is coming to the Big Ten
Right.
and coaching at UCLA. What do fans need to know about him in particular?
Coach Chesney, great coach, great guy, great, just all around great. He has that um mentality of I'm here to do my job and I'm here to make a program better. So that's what I'm going to do. And even when he was brought on at JMU just 2 years ago, he definitely set. I feel like he set his own personal goals, but then he also took an account of the coaches around him and the athletes he were bringing in to make sure by the end of his term, whenever he decided to move on, that he didn't have any regrets and he didn't have anything to say change or I wish I would have did this, I wish I would have did that. It was more of like bam, 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 we got this and this done. So I really do believe that UCLA is gaining a one heck of a coach. He is a phenomenal with all the players, everyone around him and the community enjoys being able to kind of like have his atmosphere around and have the players look up to him. He's not more of just like oh yeah, like he's just coach. I'm like no, like he actually likes to be involved and get to know his players. So UCLA is we're losing someone that we all care about, but UCLA is gaining somebody that they, need. And if the other candidates that they had in mind, like Chesney he's obviously a great choice for them. So
You mentioned when we were talking before this that JMU is a little bit far out from where you're located. What
Yeah.
has it just been like for you guys to have to kind of reacclimate your resources and watching this school become more and more important in your viewing area? Because I'm assuming a few years ago, it probably wasn't a school that was talked about that much.
Yes. So for us, our viewing area it's very wide. And it's weird because some areas out that way can get us, but then other like your neighbor could be watching our channel, but then you can't watch our channel. It's very weird how it's set up. But we do have a bunch of um alumni and even students that come into our area and into town and live in Roanoke, and they're huge fans. So whenever we do get a chance to go out there, it's about almost a little under like 2 hour commute for us to even drive there. So it's quite far, but I would say our viewers, they love seeing JMU on their TVs because they know they have relatives, they have friends that also attended. Um, we do get busy during football season because JMU is not our only college that we cover. We have Tech, we have UVA, um, going into like D3. Roanoke College just started their first year as an actual football team after over 100 years. They actually had their first full year as a team, so that was major for us. And then you got to think about Washington and Lee. You got to think about just all the other smaller schools that we do have from D3 to D2. So once JMU started kind of like popping off, I'm like, oh, wow, maybe we should start focusing on this and seeing how they're doing. So we try to incorporate everybody, because down in Lynchburg, we even cover Liberty. Luckily, we have a 3-man team and we are super busy. But once JMU started to pick up, even more, like we were keeping an eye on them. I was like, oh, JMU still undefeated, or oh, JMU only has one loss still. Like it was in our back burner, like, okay, we need to check out and make sure we get to a few of these games and make sure that we got some coverage for them. So it was kind of cool to see that, after all said and done, football season is coming to an end, and JMU is our only team that we have left to actually, like, give more coverage for. So I think now that we're kind of spoiled them now because we lacked a little bit of coverage. So we're just like, all right, y'all get a bunch of JMU coverage now because they're great. So
Have you seen like an uptick in JMU fans around Virginia during this time, or what has that been like?
yes, we've actually been getting a lot of calls and emails, and even just the community talking about it. It's more of a widespread now. Like, okay, the Dukes first time ever in the playoffs, and we both know how difficult it is to get into the college football playoffs, and there are teams that they felt like they should have gotten it, or they were overlooked, and it's crazy to even think that out in JMU will be one of those teams. But they've definitely been something that the community out, even out here in Roanoke and out there, that they've all been talking about it. So I feel like uh, they're loving the attention, but they're also knowing that since they are coming into um, this college football playoffs as underdogs, and people are kind of like, who is this team, what are they doing here, how did they make it? I think they're going to try their hardest to make sure that their name is remembered and make sure that people know that they belong there. So
We're going to get into the X's and O's in our next segment, which will be coming up very shortly. But I do just want to say, I think maybe the thing that's made the biggest impact is that satire account that keeps tweeting stuff about, like, hey, JMU did this in the Sun Belt this year, and Oregon hasn't even won a game in the Sun Belt. Just what has it been like for you to kind of watch that account also have its rise? Because that's been pretty entertaining.
It is crazy because, like, the internet is wild. Let me just put that out there. With all this like AI stuff now, I'm kind of taking a back seat, but it is comical and it is funny to let the good stuff roll and see what all these people can come up with, especially that account. That account is whoever runs that account, props to you. You have some great content providing out there, but I think it's more of that on the level of they want to have some fun with it and they want to make sure that the people who are a part of JMU can understand just like how hard that team has worked, even if it comes with a little chuckles every now and then. But yeah, the we love to see all the media stuff. I would just say that.
Yeah, I saw that the Athletic did a full story on the people behind
Yes.
that account. So they're getting their day in the sun. I love that for them.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about personnel on this JMU team. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back to KOIN Conversations. I am joined right now by our sports reporter at our Next Star Roanoke affiliate, Miriam Chamberlain. Miriam, thank you so much for making time, like I said in the first segment. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about some stuff on this football team and how we're going to see them play on the field come Saturday. So just what is their identity offensively, you would say?
Offensively, I would definitely say balanced, high tempo, capable of, scoring early and often. They definitely love to, run the ball and they have that dual threat at, QB, that, that defense that, it's an honest snap. So offensively, you really have to know what they're doing, especially on the line of scrimmage, because they're quick with it. So they show what I believe they have, like they're averaging 448 yards per game on offense. So it's the numbers are there and they know how to utilize their weapons. And when they do, that's they can either get that drive down the field or get those extra yardages to get another first down or heck even end up in the end zone. So whenever you see them maybe falling behind, because you have seen that in the past where they might be trailing, they still come up with those big plays to put them back on top or even make the score even to where they know they can finish out the game strong. So it's not all been about high scoring games for them, but they have had those big games where they've come up and outscored their opponents by 30 some points. But their offense definitely knows how to communicate and get advantage of getting ahead of the defense for their opponents.
I know that Alberta Barnett, their quarterback, is really the straw that stirs the drink over there. The Sun Belt Player of the Year, an All-American
Yep.
at the Group of Five level. Just what is he like on the field? I know he's a bit of a dual threat guy.
Yeah, he is. I believe 21 touchdowns so like on the season so far, and perhaps even more come Saturday. But he is one of those playmakers. Like even if there is a play ran, you can just watch this as if you were watching it back on film. He's going to know how to manipulate. He's going to know how to get to the ball where it needs to be, whether if it's in play or if he needs to scramble and get ahead. He knows he's one of those like quick thinkers. He reacts on his feet. So as soon as he gets the ball in his hand, if it's throwing or running, he's going to get to where he needs to be. Very fast, I would say. So defense will have to try to outrun him, if anything, just to slow him down. But he does have that dual threat capability, like you said.
21 passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns. So
Yep.
35 touchdowns in total this year. That is not something to stick your nose up at all if you're Oregon.
Right.
Is there any other players on offense that you think that Oregon fans should know about going into this game?
Their running back Knight and even their wide receiver, I don't want to say his name wrong, but Nick the Gennaro. I always say it wrong on air. I feel so bad. But those two are also some key players that they know how to keep the offense going and they know how to make sure that they can attack on the ground or whether it's in the air. They'll make those big plays to where if it is 3 and 4 or fourth down and 1, they need somebody. I would say those two will actually um, keep the ball in play.
I know that Alberta had a bit of a rough Sun Belt game. What went wrong there for him? Sun Belt
Yeah, the J.
championship game, I should say. Yeah.
You know, personally, I did not ask him, so this is just coming off of my noggin.
Mhm.
But for me, I would say I think he kind of let the best get to him once. Typically, athletes, when they have one bad play, they know how to shake it off. But since this was a game that meant something more, especially to him and to his players and his teammates and to the coaches, I think it was more of just like it was one of those off games. But luckily, he had his line. He had the players that he can trust to help him through that game. Because if he would have just tried to carry all that weight and put it on himself, the game could have ended up in a different way. But I think it was more of like his own mistakes and where his head was during that time. And luckily, he was able to kind of pull it together and keep it together throughout, just so they can get that Sun Belt championship. One that was obviously well deserved for them, just on their phenomenal season that they had. And hopefully, come Saturday when it plays Oregon, that he'll be able to kind of get back into finding his own identity, reestablishing what went wrong, looking at film, making sure that he's where he needs to be, and if he's comfortable enough to, you know, put himself out there more, then that's what he'll probably have to do come Saturday.
So basically, you're thinking that just the moment in that moment
Yeah,
kind of got to him a little bit, which
yeah.
makes
And a lot of
sense.
athletes, they go through that too. So
Hmm.
there's always times where, everything's been going right. They've only have one loss to go off of. Granted, they do work hard to make sure they don't have any more losses. But when you speak to some coaches and even the players, they tell you like after the loss, they've learned more than what they've actually probably needed to learn and prepare for down the line. So for him, I think he just kind of, let the best get to him and felt like it was more of like, okay, we got this in the bag. Or he just probably had an off day, something else was going on, maybe something personal. Well, who knows? But I think I think he'll be right back where he needs to be come Saturday.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because Oregon's quarterback Dante Moore talked about that this week and how he did that with the Indiana game that they
Mm.
lost. It all connects because
Yeah,
Indiana's coached by Kurt Signetti, and so
yeah,
he was talking about the fact that he really let that game get too big in his head and how he
yes.
learned a lot from that. So
And
hopefully,
it's
both
surprising because
quarterbacks
they're
come into
all
this game.
right, right. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're just young adults still, trying to find their way. They're in class, in school, and I mean, they're just human too. And games like that, they definitely want to, keep their name high and keep their name in a good light. So I feel like everyone's gonna have an off game one day. So that just for them too, both quarterbacks, it just happened to be one of those games.
Yeah. Defensively, how do they play defensively?
Defensively, I mean, they are well balanced. They do have that like what I think they're the nation's best run defense right now. Quote me if I'm wrong. But the capability of having turnovers and reading the opposite's offense, they know where they need to be. They know how to maneuver and be in the right spots for making those big plays. I know what's his name, Trent Hendrick. He had some come up plays, and Wes, he was like a freshman, but he really had like a standout. I think he was one of the ones who had an interception, um, that was like a game changer interception. So they work off of the offense and making sure that they can get the ball back quick enough for their own offense to come back and make up some clutch plays. So the defense is pretty solid. They're quick too. So I feel like everyone on that team is fast. But they definitely know how to slow down and create pressure to where if the offense feels like they need to run a trick play, then I feel they might be able to stop them, but they definitely know how to read a route and make sure they're there.
Anyone defensively that stands out to you that fans need to know about?
Yes. Let's see, because I actually have their names written down.
I
So,
appreciate the preparedness.
yeah. Um, like I mentioned, so their linebacker Trent Hendrick, he is the team tackle leader. And he was also the Sun Belt's Defensive Player of the Year. So he has some really good stats under him. And then Zaire West, he was that breakout freshman, but in that championship game, he had 3 sacks. So a true freshman coming in, trying to make a name for himself, but also playing for a team. And then he was like their destructive pass rusher. So them two are some key people that we can keep an eye out on. And let me see if I make sure I got the other guys. Yeah, I would say those two individuals have had a really good come up this year and been making some really good plays on defense for the Dukes.
Is there anything that you see as a weakness on this team? Anything that has concerned fans this season?
Um, when looking at a game, I would say because they've had those comeback wins and they've had those times where they've let opponent kind of get ahead. But I think that's something they overcame early enough. And when it did happen later in the season and when they were down or when they were losing by maybe 1 or 2 scores, I think that's when they needed to switch gears and change up something or go back to old style of playing where they got used to. Um, that will be kind of like the only thing I picked up on because I know a lot of teams when they get down, they're like, all right, game is over. But JMU is one of the teams that when they're not stopping until the clock hits 0. So without a doubt, they'll keep fighting, they'll keep pushing, and they'll make sure that they try to at least get, if not a score, a field goal, something off of a drive to where they can put themselves in a better predicament come the next possession.
So basically, what you're saying is that they've had some issues letting opponents run the score, or not run the
Run
score
this.
up on them,
Yeah,
but
yeah, not yeah.
yeah,
I know what you
they've
mean. Yes.
they've had to make multiple comebacks,
Yes.
and let me tell you, that's something you don't want to do against a team on the road in the college football playoffs. So I imagine that they are very much emphasizing starting strong this week.
Yep.
And is there anything that you think has really been something that has made this team, 12-1, something, a characteristic of this team that makes them, that stands out above the rest, that they're really, really good at?
I feel like they're really good in the red zone, like, and their third down threats. That is key for a team to, put a stop to it, and or even get into, that scoring position. But identity wise, I just feel like for them, everything kind of clicks. And then when they get into that groove, it's really hard for them to get out of that groove. I mean, if you take a look at that blowout game against Texas State, they were playing Texas State. It was like 52-20. And everything that they were doing in that game was just, everything was falling into place. So it's like that domino effect. And they've had some narrow games to where they've, closed early wins, like we mentioned before. But even their last game against, I want to say they played Coastal Carolina before they played. I can't remember on the schedule where they were, but even in that game, that was a major game for them. But they have that mentality of we're going to finish and we're going to finish strong. So even if they started off strong, they're still finishing strong. So I think that's more of like what their outlook is when it comes to game day and when it comes to preparation. So hopefully that answered the question.
Miriam, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Oregon and JMU facing off in the college football playoff on Saturday, 4:30 local time, 7:30 your time.
7:30.
I
Yep.
bet you love that time as a sports broadcaster. That's great for you, narrator. It is not. Anyways, we're the ones that matter, okay? We're trying to make air. That game is on TNT, and we will be down there at the game. Miriam, thank you so much for joining us and making time in your day. And
you.
number 5 Oregon, number 12 JMU. Let's get it Saturday.
Yes, may the best one win.
All right, bye.
Bye.